Hey, on crypto4growmybag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? Hey, Hutanik, thanks for letting us all know that you have invested in yourself. You know how important that is. So, it's a sideways kind of day, right? I mean, what else is there going to be? So, I don't think things are going to change until we get things verified on Wednesday. Makes sense, right? I think that we're most likely going to be looking at everything is going to stay the same. Nothing's going to be moved. There's absolutely no reason and zero rush to actually move the rates at all. At all. I mean, what data is there that shows that you should lower the rates? I hear a lot of people saying, not a lot of people, I hear certain people saying, oh, we should lower the rates because that will be good. For who? They never say for who. We know who it's for. It's not for us. It's for people that borrow money because it would cost less to borrow that money. It's a part of that whole trickle-down thing. Everybody think, oh, the trickle-down effect, that's going to help everybody. Blah. It doesn't. It's a ruse. It's fugazi. It's one of my favorite words because I can actually see Matthew McConaughey actually doing it with that kind of like, it's fugazi. But yeah, I mean, what comes from that? Tell me what comes from that. Not a thing. Right? That whole trickle-down theory didn't work before. It's not going to work now. Because money likes to keep money. I'm just saying, like I'm not even playing. I'm not even being mean about it. It's a pure statement. Right? They're having to pay back Japanese loans they use to buy US stocks. Ops? I don't know what ops means. There are too many things that ops can go for. You got to spell it out. But yeah, that first statement, absolutely correct. And I don't understand how they get caught with their pants down. They saw it coming. They knew it was coming. It happened the last time. Oops. It happened the last time. Thank you for that. And you should have known it was coming now, right? I mean, it's not insane. It's not insane at all. Let me skip down. There were a lot of articles today. I think there were like 40 some odd articles that were published today. The biggest talk of the town right now. I'm sorry, my hands are like dry as hell. I was washing dishes before. The biggest talk of the town right now is what you think it is. We're not hearing a lot of conversation because there's a lot of distraction going on. But the conversation that should be going on right now, government shutdown. Right? You're not hearing about a bill that's about to be passed. What you're hearing is government shutdown. I want you to think about this. There was never talk about, oh, hey, we're working on a bill. We've got this. We've got bipartisan support, blah, 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 blah. You haven't heard any of that. What we got was an influx of distractions. And it might have worked, except that one of their distractions backfired twice in the most horrific of ways that it could possibly backfire. Right? So now, part of Congress is still trying to, the Senate's still trying to squeeze that particular funding bill, that funding portion in. And you have senators that are like, don't do that. Nope. Toxic, toxic, toxic. We don't want that. We don't want that mashed together, please. We can barely agree on what we have. We don't want that. You're seeing more and more of that. Way more and more of that. Right? And the problem is that I don't think the current regime pays attention to the economic impacts of all the moves that they're making. Like they don't think everything out. Remember I told you it's hard. It really is kind of difficult to separate politics from investing. But you're making moves that affect investments. You're causing unnecessary volatility with some of those moves. And I don't think that volatility was ever accounted for as they went through their calculations. So we're still dealing with the impacts of the T word, tariffs. And then you double down on it by saying, not only are you going to introduce tariffs on Europe, because remember, that's what they were saying, and it freaked everybody out. Now you're moving it to, well, if Canada does something, we're going to, and we didn't have a breather to catch up. It was back to back, and we're not having a breather to catch up. My man, Rick Ritchie, has invested in himself today. That's what's up. Ooh, Rick Ritchie off the top rope with that statement. Dang. I've got to read this one. I invested in myself today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I believe they know what they are doing. They are making money while playing stupid. You know what? I will say this. I think in some cases, it's well thought out, and that's exactly what they're doing. Right? They know the grift is coming. Cool, got it. But in other cases, I think they're just quick to react to a faux pas because they're closer to all the information, hasn't gotten out yet, and they can redo things to make profit off of that. That's what I think is going on. And I think with regard to the word tariffs, they know exactly what they're thinking. They know exactly what they're thinking. But I think the miscalculation was, okay, you doing certain things and you trying to tie certain funding into the current bill, that's going to cause a problem. It's going to be tough enough, right? You pass it over here, there was big hoopla over it, and quietly it moved over to the Senate, and it's going to be packaged in and all that good stuff. Except then you had these two mistakes. These two huge, tragic mistakes. And now nobody wants to fund them. That could be a problem. That could be a big, big, big problem. Here it is, January. And let me tell you something. This is going to last all the way through. This is going to last all the way through two elections. And that's going to be a massive problem for a lot of people that are up for re-election. A lot of people. So when I think about it, and I think about all the moves, all the gyrations, all the wriggling about, it's going to come down to one thing. It's going to come down to one thing. And I think that come May, when we get the new Fed chairman, I'm praying that Powell stays on. I really am. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm really praying that he says, you know what? I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. Because I can. I think he should. But here's something else. I want everybody to remember. Who appointed Powell? Yeah. Powell came in 2 regimes ago, which happens to be the same regime that's here now. So it's not to say that just because you choose someone that they're going to do what you tell them to do. Shackles are off. You can't fire them. There's nothing you can do about it. Truth be told, you can't even make their lives hard. Is what it is. And I think when people step into certain roles, they realize the weight of those roles. And their brains start to kick in like, oh, I see what you're talking about. I see what you're talking about. And I think that whoever the next person that he chooses, you may think they're a yes man, but I don't think they will be. I do not think they will be. And until they prove that they're not, I would hope that Powell stays on. Because there is a small group of people that actually know what that job feels like when you put those shoes on. It's not an easy job. You're literally talking about, I have the economic fate of 330 odd million people in the palm of my hands. And when I make a mistake, it's going to affect all of those people. When I get it right, it'll affect all of those people. Amazeballs. So I'm hoping that that's something that will become stabilized as we move closer and closer and closer. I've been hearing commentary about, the possibility of a shadow. I'm like, nah, because they have zero authority. Zero authority. So there is no shadow. You're going to make rules and I'm not. No. You got one person sitting in that chair, and they are the chair. That's how that's going to go. So the idea, I just don't believe in the idea of a shadow FOMC chair. That's ridiculous, I think. It's feasible, right? When you think it out, it's feasible. I just think it's ridiculous. Hey, A-Pause. Hey, Stanley. Thank you both for letting us know that you're investing in yourselves. Oh, don't forget tonight's question. What stock has been added to Binance's perpetual futures? ExxonMobil, NVIDIA, ASML, or other? Yeah, that's a big one, right? Dang, I even forgot who it was. I mean, I kind of remember who it was. But that's tonight's question. What stock has been added to Binance's perpetual futures? ExxonMobil, NVIDIA, ASML, or other? If it's other, drop it in the comments. I did way over 15 minutes of research. I figured you would. And Hutanik, you're right. He's that family has made over $1.4 billion in profit. We reported that last week. And that's from their crypto ventures. That's from their crypto ventures. I was speaking with somebody and they said, well, they've been in crypto for years. They invented, I had to stop them right there. And I said to them, choose your words carefully, because this is going to determine if I ever speak with you again. And they looked at me cross-eyed. Dead serious. You know how many times Rick Ritchie has corrected me? How many times Hutanik has corrected me? How many times people have helped me research things live on the show? But when you say that family's invented something in crypto, I've got to laugh at you. I've got to laugh at you. Why is that? Oh, I don't know. Because during the first time the regime was a regime, they were against crypto. But what happened? Sam Bankman-Fried showed the way that they could all get bought. That all of the politicians can get bought. You just need money. And you need somebody else to do it. And so they discovered the crypto bros. They've got money. Let's suck up to them. They didn't invent anything. They were able to get in on things. And because they had money, they were able to get in on things at a very high level, which meant that everything that they did was multiplied by because they had that high level access. I mean, $1.5 billion in profit in a year. Ongoing, by the way. Ongoing. Chengpeng Zhao, CZ, was actually on CNBC while at Davos, talking about how things are progressing and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he plans on doing more with the regime or whatever. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just going, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So they're not done yet. So that 1.4, $1.5 billion in crypto profit is going to continue. For some of it, they're business ideas, right? But for some of it, not so pleased. And not so pleased because if I can sit back and I can say every time you use the word tariff, it drops everything and it's not hard to figure that out. You said it the first time, boom. You said it the second time, boom. All right, now you know what's going to happen every time you say that word. So whenever you want to buy in low, you just use that word. Everything drops. Crypto, stocks, bonds, boom. The only thing that goes up, precious metals. Why? Because it's the opposite of. Cool. It drops, you buy in. It goes up, you made money. Like that. And it keeps people's minds off of other things. Whatever other things you didn't want them thinking about. Like a bill to fund the government. We're at a point right now where we cannot kick the can down the road. I don't think anybody's going to accept kicking the can down the road again. No, buddy, you're going to have to come up with a budget. Somebody's going to have to demonstrate, oh, you have an idea for the budget. You know what you're doing for the budget. And the idea can't be giving away another $40 billion, which we clearly don't have, to another country who also took our soybean business and who's also horning in on our beef business. Tell me, I think more and more people are feeling the pain of the decision making of this machine, of this regime. And for us, we need to figure out, how are we going to move? How quickly? You know how rule number 2, right? Know your entries and know your exits. Of course, you're starting with your own research, right? But know your entries and know your exits. Why do I keep telling you guys that? What's the reason for that? Oh, I don't know. Maybe the reason is because we absolutely need to know how quickly we can move. And the only way you would know that is by identifying how you can move. Then you can figure out, well, is this a 2-step process, a 3-step process, a single-step process? How quickly can I move? If I'm storing things over here, if I'm storing assets over here, do I have to transfer them and then exchange them and then transfer them again to actually get out? That's a 1, 2, 3-step process. Transfer from here, sell, transfer to here, off ramp. If that's what you plan on doing. But I like knowing what do I have to do to off ramp any one of my assets. It's not just about being able to make a move. It's what kind of move do I need? Do I want to get out and I want to literally take profit? Because that would mean I have to off ramp and then do something with that money someplace else, right? Maybe I'm off ramping some crypto so I can get in on a business deal. Maybe I'm off ramping some crypto so that I can, buy some real estate. Maybe I'm selling some real estate, dropping all that money because I have a year. I'm dropping all that money into crypto because I think in a year I'm going to make money, and then I'll be able to buy something else while the market is up. And I don't have to worry about that whole real estate sell, taxes, all that kind of stuff. There's like a whole thing. Talk to your CPA about it. Oh, talk to your tax attorney about it too. So, now you understand why I need to know my entries and know my exits. I need to understand what I'm doing with this transaction. And I also need to understand what it means to actually panic sell. You ever watch a movie? Thomas Crown Affair. He called his financial advisor and was like, how much can, if I was to walk away tomorrow, how much would I walk away with? That's knowing your exits, right? That's absolutely knowing your exits. And that's the whole point. That's literally the whole point. So you have to understand what you're going to do in order to make those moves. If not, when you get news like the market's not doing so hot, or this crypto's not going so well, or Bitcoin surged 1.5%, or the Magnificent Seven, fell. What are you, Spanish now? Pause. You got question marks upside down and right side, because that's what they do, but it's usually only one. Just saying. Yeah, I'm busting our chops. I'm fine with tariff as long as in the same sentence as no income tax. No, Hutanik, I'd like to kick you in the shins, because I don't think anybody's given it any serious thought. You know who I hear giving thought to taxes? People like you, regular people like you. But I don't hear them talking about it. The people in power, the economists. I don't hear them talking about, oh, well, if you wanted to do blah, you could do da 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 da. I don't hear those kinds of conversations going on. I do not hear those kinds of conversations going on. I did hear somebody that said exactly what you said. Get rid of everything and just make you pay at the cash register. Here's your 30%, tax on whatever it is you're doing, because you're not paying anything else. That's a viable option. I mean, obviously details would need to be ironed out and all that good stuff, but it's a viable option. Because now everybody has to collect 30% in taxes, and you're responsible to pay those taxes, and you keep it moving. But that would also mean that you might have to change your benefits, healthcare, insurance, all that good stuff. Something that struck me is that nat gas flew. I think it rose like 18.5%. 18.5% during an emergency. Oh, well, because of demand. The natural gas pipelines run fine, can handle the capacity. Why is it going up? And if they can't handle the capacity, why haven't these privatized companies stepped up their game with their pipelines and their last mile delivery? Do you know in some places, electricity, just energy in general, they're charging you regular rates plus, oh, hey, by the way, we have to update our systems. Wait a minute, whoa. You shouldn't be charging me for that. You should have to take that out of your record profits, right? Yeah, we don't get that. We do not get that at all. We don't get any of that. It's things like that we need to keep our eye on, in addition to going out there and, reading up on current events. One such current event, BlackRock has submitted a registration statement to the SEC for its iShares Bitcoin Premium Income ETF. Just saying. Digital asset analyst firm Sentiment reports that Chainlink, Cardano, Ethereum, and XRP and Bitcoin are showing negative 30-day MVRV ratios, indicating potential undervaluation. The MVRV metric compares market capitalization to realized value. With negative readings suggesting traders are underwater and creating buying opportunities. Yeah, that's basically saying, hey, there sooner or later, that squeeze is happening now. Sooner or later, it's going to spring up, just like it did before. Just like we all said before. Just saying. But do you see how we're looking at different kinds of news? This is immediate news, basically. Those last two things I spoke about was basically immediate news. But we must also pay attention to that news that follows through or trails behind weeks, months, years beyond. That's what we need to worry about. That's what we need to worry about. Something else that's going to start hitting reality is, well, all the good stuff, all the good stuff that happens is, or a lot of the good stuff that's happening in that big BM of a bill, turns off after the midterm elections. And then you have more that turns off after coming presidential elections. That was on purpose, duh. But we have to watch out for that, and we have to put it on our calendars, because we have to say, okay, that news we're gonna be reminded of that down the road. And if I forget about it, my calculations on how I'm moving in the market could screw me up. Remember, people like Hutanik are thinking things aren't going to get better for crypto until 2030. Not a bad year. That's around midterms after the next presidential election, right? And you kind of sit there and kind of go, oh, that timing could work. A lot of people think 2030 is an important year. So, don't we have to plan for that? We need to have that calendar. A list of risks, a list of opportunities, your own risk framework, and a calendar. So those of you that took my class on learn how to do your own research, you know the 4 stages. We're thinking about it. We're going to do it. We did it. Now look at the benefits of what we did. Those are the 4 stages. Those are the 4 stages. In an ideal setup, sometimes it can just be 2, sometimes it can just be 3, sometimes it can be 4. You learn all about that if you take my class. The velocity of money would be much smoother if it was taxed at the purchase versus stalling GDP for tax calculations, which is a waste of time. I was trying to see if we could poke holes in that, but like I said, I think there are a couple of good ideas out there. The details would need to be worked out, especially the transition from the old system to the new system. How does that happen? Can't just rip the Band-Aid off. You could, but what would be the ramifications? Like, thought has to go into it. When was the last time you heard these people talking about there needs to be a better way? When was the last time? Exactly. And I think those things on our calendars are going to wind up being the things that affect us in major flipping ways. I think that's what we're missing out on, is that people are not contemplating what are the ramifications if we don't make a change. I hear some people talk about, oh, capitalism is failing. No, it's not capitalism that's failing. I do not believe that it's capitalism that's failing us. You want to know what I believe it is? Greed. Greed and ego. The same things that get in our way all the other times. Tell me I'm wrong. Let's have that debate. But I think having a calendar of these upcoming events is going to help us start paying attention to those people that want to have that conversation. Because clearly the current system isn't working. 38-point-something trillion in debt. Clearly it is not working. But there's a global problem. As I look at all the news, USA Rare Earth shares jumped after, cutting a deal with the US government, and that's great. And VanEck's groundbreaking move, global asset manager VanEck launched its first US listed spot avalanche ETF, VAVX. Great stuff that we should be paying attention to. But the market's down. So that little bit of good news for avalanche isn't going to move the needle. It's not. But listening to people that want to have those hard conversations People that actually are in a position where they can speak truth to power, that are bringing that up as, hey, we need to figure this out. I want to hear from those people. Nobody's listening to economists. Hey, that might not be such a good idea if you do that. Okay, you did it. But you want to know what the true huge problem is, in my humble opinion. It's not just that the United States has 38 point something trillion dollars in debt. It's the fact that the whole world, or the greater percentage of the world, is carrying relative massive debt. UK, France, name a country. Very few are actually operating in the black. None of those countries. We're not operating in the black. We're operating in the red. UK, France, I think most of Europe operating in the red. Most countries on the planet are operating in the red, which means that maybe there needs to be a true reset. And the broad reach is going to be, and here's where I wonder what happens to the US dollar, because the idea would be, well, the biggest debtor in the world is the United States. But then you stop and you think about, well, countries that weren't managing their fiat well either created this new thing called BRICS, and we're supposed to run with them? Nope. I mentioned this morning that Poland's like, there's no reason for us to, be chasing after the euro. Our fiat rose, our GDP rose 3.5%. Excuse me. Yay. Just saying. So you start to think about these things and you start to break them down and you start to realize, holy moly, yeah, we're going to have to start talking as a globe about this debt. We need to stop having wars to try to cover up our debt. And I'm not just talking about the United States. Look at Russia first. You realize we haven't really recovered from what Russia has done? Yeah. When Russia did what it did years ago, started that, insane war. Market, we haven't really recovered. We haven't regained that momentum that we once had. It's stretching out. And every time we talk peace, what does Russia run out and do? Russia runs out and causes more problems. And so now my calculations used to be that if that war ended, it would have a positive impact on the global economy. That war is going on for so long that I don't know that it's actually going to have a real effect on the global economy. I want you to stop and think about something. When that war goes away, Russia's still in the same place. Even if they were to get the land, just hear me out. This is all about investing. Even if they were to get the land grab and all that good stuff, blah, 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 it's finally over. The people are going to start doing the accounting. They're going to start counting the beads. They're going to start doing all this stuff, and you're going to sit there and you're going to go, oh, this is a not so bueno situation. And it goes right back to their economy. That's where the conversation will go. That's why they don't want this to end. That's why every time there's a peace conversation, they don't want that to end. Because as long as everybody's looking at the war, they're not looking at their economy. That's why I keep saying there are very few countries within BRICS that have a great economy. The founding countries within BRICS don't necessarily have great economies. China's might look like it's great. They're just better off than some, but I don't think they look great. Russia, We know their economy sucks. India is growing, but if they make another mistake, India's economy can get crushed. And it wouldn't be hard. It would be that countries just go, you're going to have to onshore all those jobs that you've offshored. That would absolutely crush India. Citi said they're already going to pull back some of the jobs that they've outsourced. A good percentage of those jobs. I think that number was 68% or something like that. We reported on it a while ago. So imagine what happens after that. So there's news that hits us on a daily basis that will have a very short-term effect, right? Everything I spoke about so far tonight, that's like a few days, week, couple of weeks. Not even that long. It's we got some news, everybody's going to react, boom, boom, boom. That transaction is usually done within a few days. Right? That's usually what's going to happen. Then you have the news that hits that's going to have a long-term effect. That once it happens, there's a whole bunch of hoopla, the blah, 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 rah, 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 whatever it is. And then it dies off after a couple of months. And then nobody talks about it. And then when something happens, like the big BM of a bill, oh, that benefit goes away after the elections. Go look up the big beautiful bill and see what terminates after this year's elections. You'll see what I mean. And it's not just because of this regime. This is going on for countless years during elections. They'll time it after an election so that the party in that's in office looks good, yada yada yada. It's not party specific. Let's be honest about that. But it affects our bags. It directly affects our bags. And we forget about it. We forget to account for that. So when we lay blame, we're usually laying blame on the wrong people. I don't care what party you're from. We're usually laying blame on the opposite side when it was really the other side that did it. Something that I like about the idea of paying at the point of sale, you want to know what I like about that? You always know what it's going to be. There's no more legalized racketeering with having you spend money to get your taxes done just to have the government tell you you overpaid or you underpaid or, hey, you're right on. If you know how much I owe you, why are we playing this game? Oh, yeah. The tax preparation lobby. They own it. What were one of the things this regime did when it came into office? Oh, it made it so that you couldn't use the free software that the government had to do your simple taxes. We shouldn't have to pay to do our taxes. We really shouldn't. But we do, because they lobbied like champs. And so now we've got to go pay to do our taxes. Everything's unnecessarily expensive. And even when you go get the free version on one of those sites, it's really, everything points you to having to pay to get your taxes done. Go to those sites now and go try to use the free version. It's difficult. You've got to answer each question just right, or they push you to, oh, you got to pay for that. The U.S. government had an application where you could go do your taxes, and it was easy and all that good stuff. And they lobbied and they got it shut down. These have long-term effects, very long-term effects. Something else that's having a long-term effect for us. They're saying that there's a percentage. Let me see if I can bring it up. There's a percentage of Gen Zers. Control F, Gen. There you go. A survey says that 17% of Gen Z / millennials are aware of prediction markets, with calcium poly market valuations reaching $11 billion and $9 billion respectively. They're flocking to prediction markets, betting, That different word, prediction versus gambling or betting, changes the whole thought process about it. And they're bankrolling those prediction markets. Just saying. Corporate profits are the only thing that should be taxed because they collect taxes at the point of sale. No, it's not that. I don't know that they collect taxes. You're collecting the tax and you already know what that tax is. Right? They're two separate things that you're mixing together. You're collecting taxes because I'm charging you $100 for a service. Great. It's $130. Great. Boom. Collected the $100. $100 is mine. $30 goes to them. Right? Or, well, $70 is mine. $30 goes to the government. Great. Boom. Moving on. But now what you're saying is that corporations should have to pay taxes because they should have to pay taxes. Two separate conversations. I don't disagree. I'm just noting that they're two separate conversations. And truth be told, I think that corporations, let's start with the corporations that supply public services, water, power, any kind of energy. There should be a maximum profit for that. There should be a maximum profit for that. And they should actually have to maintain those pipelines, because that's why the business was given to you. If you cannot maintain what you're supposed to maintain, then take the business back. But we shouldn't be given a surcharge because you've got to redo your pipelines or run new wires or whatever it is. With the kind of profit that you're making, run your business. Run your business. And if you're pulling a profit and you're running your business, and you come to me with a rate hike and you're still pulling a profit, why do you need the rate hike? Because over the past couple of years, I want you to go take a look at your bills over the past like 5 years and go look at how much you were paying before compared to how much you're paying now for basically the same amount of electricity. You could see it right there per kilowatt hour or whatever. They'll tell you that. I think your jaw will drop. Then you'll have to go to the hospital because it'll hurt a lot. It'll drop that hard. So it's not just that we need to do our own research. We need to be cognizant. We need to put things on the calendars so that, we don't forget when we go forward. The reason why I'm harping on this is because, today alone, we dropped 40 plus articles. 40 plus articles. That's a lot of articles. And we're not the only news source, duh. But 40 plus articles in a day? That's a lot. That's a lot. So doing your own research about what you're interested in is a big deal. Because, yeah, we dropped 40 articles, but you might only be interested in like 3 of them. You see what I mean? But anything that has to do with regulation that's going to affect your bags, that should immediately be put on your radar. When does it start? When does it end? Who is it going to affect? At what levels? Blah, 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 blah. Now you know why I go into that really hard all the time. There's a ton of news out there. But I think that we key in on news that hits today, affects us for the next 2 or 3 days, and we're not looking at news that hits today but doesn't really go into effect for another month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. It's sort of like I tell you, oh, this country is looking to implement new crypto regulations, and they should kick in 2028. People sit there and go, 2028, what do I care about that? You're probably going to care because maybe the platform that you're using has to go get certified in that country, handle compliance, all that good stuff, figure out taxes and everything else, because there's a change. And it'll take that long to actually do it. So it seems like a long time, and then next thing you know, you blink and you wake up and it's 2028. Screw around, you might totally blow by 2028 and it's 2029. You're looking going, how come this is like this? It's because you didn't put it on the calendar as something that you should keep your eye on and how it's going to affect your bags. No matter what country you're in, you should be paying attention to the laws that are within your country and the laws that are going on in other countries, because countries look at other countries the way businesses look at other businesses to get a pulse on, well, what's working and what's not. Massive impacts. Massive impacts. Something else that I was paying attention to today. Nike is looking to lay off about 775 people from their distribution centers. Why is that? More automation. I know everybody thought I was going to say AI. Automation is kind of a part of AI. Is the physical part of AI. So you're looking at, or the mechanical part of AI. It's not necessarily physical. So 775 people are about to lose their jobs because more things are going to be automated. Robots. Doesn't mean that they're going to be humanoid robots, but they are going to be robots. So those 775 people that work at distribution centers for Nike, where are they going to go? What's going to happen then? It's not a big number, right? 775 people. It's not a big number compared to the 30,000 that's rumored to be Amazon's number. Mind you, they laid off people last year. So you start to realize, holy moly, things are happening that I don't realize are happening faster and faster and faster. Automation and AI can bring massive change. AI is a good thing, but businesses still haven't realized what they can actually use it for and actually how they can actually make things more efficient using AI. So they're hoping that shoving AI down your throat, looking at you, Microsoft, will get you to use it more, which will help them pay for all these big things that they want to do. Not thinking that so many people are running local AI that are getting everything that they need from local AI. Another huge thing that happened today that I wanted to bring up. OpenAI is looking into taking a chunk of your money from whatever you discover or innovate using ChatGPT. I know that's a long pause. I want you to think about this. You are a researcher and you're researching a new drug. And because you leverage ChatGPT to help you create the chemical structure for the new drug, they want a piece of your money. They want a piece of your money. Is that fair? Well, you use my software. Hold the phone. But if I use DeepSeek or one of these locally run LLMs and I create that same chemical, I don't have to pay them anything. They can go kick rocks. Oh. Small little announcement by NVIDIA. Well, they gave you the cookbook to creating your own LLM. Yes, it takes power, but you can create your own LLM and you can train it off of whatever it is you want it trained on. And thus you have your own LLM that's hyper-focused on what you want to do for that particular task. And it's all open source. Remember when I told you I think the company that's going to survive the AI bust is going to be, one of the companies is definitely going to be NVIDIA. Because you're going to need those chips anyway, whether you're in a data center or in your office at home. They're going to sell them chips. They're going to sell those chips, period. So OpenAI, and people are like, oh, well, OpenAI is not the only company that's thinking about it. No, they're not. What makes that a better thing? Google's DeepMind is thinking about it. OpenAI is thinking about it. All these other models, all these other companies, Anthropic, they're thinking about it. What makes that a good thing? What? Oh, that's some puff puff pass action going on right there. And some people will say, well, your local model doesn't have the power that these bigger models have. As a technologist, I can tell you, you can spend, as a matter of fact, I said it a couple of weeks ago. You could, actually more than a couple of months ago, you could spend about $40,000 and put together like 4 or 5 Mac Minis that would give you all the memory in the world that you would need to run your own model locally, that would actually be able to help you do things. It would scale, all that good stuff. NVIDIA has a box like that you can link them together and blah, 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 and you have access to all that. Yeah. NVIDIA had a big story about it. Look at this computer. It fits right there in the palm of your hand. It comes with 128 gigs of universal RAM that can be used by your NPU, your CPU, and your GPU. All running right here. Inexpensive. I know. I've got a few. So you sit there and you're like, holy moly, there are companies that are already out with those kinds of machines that you can link them together. Here's your array of machines that you can have like 2 terabytes of RAM for under $50K. Yeah. So when I listen to those people say, oh, you're not going to have enough power to blah, 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 yada, yada, I sit there and I get my giggle on, because you've just shown me how stupid you are. You haven't actually done your own research, and you're talking about things from a position of stupidity? Ignorance? Ignorance is the better word. Not stupid, ignorant. You don't know what you don't know. That's why I tell you guys all the time, I don't know everything. All the research that I do, I don't know everything. That's why I ask you guys for help all the damn time. Seriously. So yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, so OpenAI wants to take a piece of your profits. So now you've come up with a new drug and it's $1 billion idea. And I'm just supposed to kick that up to you? So you're so desperate to make money, because I want you to think about that. They're going to put ads in there and they're going to be big time desperate to make money. So ads now and a piece of whatever you do. So I write a paper that gets me a Nobel Peace Prize and you want a piece of the $10 million I get. Because I used, an LLM to help me formulate my opinion, to help me do research. That's what I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to give you 10%? Nah, I'm good. I have AI running on my laptop. I don't need you. I do not need you. What else does that say? I want you to stop and think about this. So, my man D Bluey, thanks for letting us know you're investing in yourself right now. I want you to think about this. So that would mean that whatever you do, they are watching and recording everything that you do on their systems. Remember I said a while ago, it doesn't matter what contract you have with a company like OpenAI. It does not matter what kind of contract you have with OpenAI. If somebody else has access to your data, no matter what they say, they have access to your data. Now, if they're looking over your shoulder and they can see, oh, you're working on that new chemical compound and you're really close to it. Oh, they got it. Get my money. Seriously? That's what you're doing. How long is it before OpenAI implodes? I'm not even playing. How long is it before OpenAI implodes? Maybe they don't go out of business. But I think there is a debt that they're going to have to pay, because when I sit here and I think about it, I kind of go, well, wait a minute. If I'm going to collect money from these businesses that create something from what I have, I had to have been looking. How long were you looking? How much of my data do you have? Because you would need proof. If you ever have to sue me to get that money, you would need proof that I used your system to do it, right? So they're looking over your shoulder at your data. Microsoft Satya Nadella was at the World Economic Forum in Davos on stage with Larry Fink talking about data sovereignty. And he said the quiet part out loud. He literally said what I just said. If you are not in control of your data, assume somebody else is. So if you're using somebody's cloud service, you do not have data sovereignty. Whatever's in the contracts, that doesn't matter. There were contracts with Facebook, contracts with all these companies. Somebody has access to your data. Oops. What happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. It all just went away. Like that. So what? So your data sovereignty, this is how they're going to make money off of your data sovereignty or lack thereof. So if you know somebody has a business and they use, LLMs or, AI, or trying to, have them give me a call, because that is what they're going to need help with. Buy my book and you'll see in Crypto Foundations, you'll see where I talk about user sovereignty. Same exact concept. User sovereignty is you controlling your information, your data. For a company, it's data sovereignty. Same thing. That's going to be huge. And we're going to hear more about that as we move forward. And that's why I keep asking, well, how long is it going to be before OpenAI implodes? Because that says you're not making enough money. And this is an avenue for you to make money. The same way charging for ads on ChatGPT is another way for them to make money, because you're not making enough money to follow through on all these promised contracts that you have with all these companies. Ta-da! Keep an eye on that. That's huge. That's huger than huge. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about this community, because this is the only community that actually cares about your knowledge, your investment in yourself. Wait a minute. People are going to ask me questions. Okay, so tonight's question: what stock has been added to Binance's perpetual futures? ExxonMobil, Nvidia, ASML, other. Boy, I got a lot of you. 8 Paws got it right. It's Tesla. It's Tesla. Crazy, right? As we move forward, we're going to start getting into more and more conversations about the tokenization of stocks and where they are tokenized and what we would have to do to access them. We'll start to have those conversations, but the idea is to start with how many places are tokenizing stocks? And what kind of effect is that going to have on the current market structure? Interesting, no? As always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And absolutely, thank you for your trust. Have a good one, everybody. See you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. for the daily. Have a good one. Bye bye.